So the Surveillance State Repeal Act is actually a rerun. The bill first came up right after the Edward Snowden revelations in 2013 by New Jersey Representative Rush Holt. And it basically was the antidote to what we call the USA Freedom Act. What it does is it repeals the Patriot Act, period. It repeals the FISA Amendments Act, period. These two laws are essentially the legal foundation that allows for what we call NSA spying, which has been essentially pulling telephone metadata and internet transactions from people at random. So it essentially removes the entire legal justification for the entire program. Nothing that anyone has suggested locally or nationally at this point of view is exactly that clear, exactly that unambiguous, and exactly that direct. What this means in Washington, of course, is it will never pass. There is no way. But I think that it's helpful to have it out there as a counterbalance to whatever conversation is going on in Washington, D.C. On the statewide level, here in California, we have a couple things going on. One of them is called Cal ECPA. So what's important to say is that there already is an ECPA. It's national and state. And what we are doing here is trying to, update it and amend it. And the reason that we're doing that is that Cal ECPA really predates the kind of electronic systems that we have now because it's an older bill. So essentially, an update of it provides the same sorts of, basic Fourth Amendment warrant protections to all kinds of electronic data, instead of just the electronic data that's specifically mentioned in a bill that is 15 years old. It got through the Senate Public Safety Committee, which can be difficult. In Sacramento, pretty easy, 6-1. The problem appears to be the governor, Jerry Brown, who has often, but not always, vetoed bills which drew the concern or the opposition of the Sheriff's Association or the law enforcement in general. So some other bills that are coming along, and it's good to see all of this activity in Sacramento about surveillance. In a way, it's the state jumping in where the feds have not done such a good job, and that's wonderful. We have two bills from State Senator Jerry Hill, who I think is down in San Mateo or thereabouts in the peninsula. And they're good bills. And what they basically are doing is they're trying to take pieces of all of this, ever-expanding surveillance technology. And we are finding cities and counties in the Bay Area are buying these things, thanks to their grants, at a dizzying pace. So Senator Hill decided to deal with two specific pieces of equipment. One is automated license plate readers, and the other was Stingrays, which are cell phone intercept devices. And the reason that he picked those two items, according to his office, was that more and more cities and counties that he saw were purchasing them very quickly, including a couple in his own district. And he felt that what kept coming up is that there were essentially no rules about how the data pulled by these devices was going to be used, and that the people in the communities who came to the meeting and spoke were extremely concerned about that point. So SB 34 relates to automated license plate readers, and those are essentially, cameras that are set up in municipalities that record the license plates of all the traffic going back and forth. And the and the intent of these devices is to build a very large database that over years will tell you a great deal about how local residents travel, and also a great deal about who's coming and going from a certain municipality. So SB 34 basically requires a public process in order to establish how this data will be held, when it will be used, for what purposes, and essentially to provide the same precautions against leakage that are provided to other public databases that the state owns. And SB 741 is also brought forward by Hill's office on exactly the same premise. And it's regarding an even weirder piece of technology called the cell phone intercept machines, or stingrays, which are essentially portable devices that are set up that imitate a cell phone tower and snatch all of the cell phone transmissions in a particular area. They are often set up near protests, as in virtually all of the time. SB 741, again, basically takes the transparency route. There has to be a public process that's discussed about when we use them, why we use them, for how long, under what purposes, what we do with the data, how long we keep it, who can see it. It's that kind of a bill. So I guess that the good news is that there are legislative efforts underway to try to reel in the surveillance state. The bad news is that we have a surveillance state that has to be reeled in. And it's certainly challenging work. There are a lot of interests that seem to be allied with the business of spying and controlling, because there's a great deal of money at stake. And so that always, locks people in. And from the point of view of the public, I think it's in some ways a difficult situation to talk about, because people are always frightened. I think that if you speak up about this, you start to look like one of those people that should be followed and surveilled and controlled. So one of the important things to remember is that we have more power speaking about this in large groups and together and as a community than we're ever going to have as individuals. And that's how we keep from being targeted. And that's how we talk, meaningfully about the stupid argument about why do you care if you don't have anything to hide? Because the truth is, we all care. And it's not about what we're hiding. It's about our choices, about what we choose to reveal and who we choose to reveal it to, which is a basic human right that nobody should have to sacrifice.